How's it going, everybody? Week 10 is in the books, and what a tough week it was. Decisions had to be made, and if you made the right ones, you made a ton of cash, and if you didn't, you hit every landmine just like I did going into week 10. It looked like a very straightforward week. If you played it straightforward, you hit landmines, and that's just the way that it went. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, please smash that like button. Let's try and get this to 400 likes this week. That would be a new record for the channel, and let's see if we can get it up that high. And if you're new to the video, please click that subscribe button as well. On this recap, we do a couple of things. The first thing I do is I look back at my ESPN Insider article, Best Buys, to go over the decisions that I made for that article, see where we were right, where we were wrong, and where the process was correct, where the process was incorrect, and how we can, where we got lucky or where we got unlucky, and how we can make better decisions in the future. Arn660, thank you very much for the new sub. Appreciate you. That is the only way to take part in these shows. If you want to be a part of the chat on Twitch, if you want to get involved on the Discord, the only way to do so is to subscribe. You can do it for free if you're an Amazon Prime member. You can link your Prime account to your Twitch account, getting a Twitch Prime sub, which gives you ad-free viewing all over Twitch, and a free sub token, which you can use on this channel. You can always get involved with a Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3 sub if you so prefer. And if you want to join the Discord chat, that runs 24 hours a day. There's plenty of channels for people that are not members, that are not subscribers to Twitch, but there are a couple of perks. If you're a Twitch subscriber, you can join the sub-only channels, NBA, NFL, and a general subs-only channel where I tend to hang out in those three channels more than the other ones. I can't be everywhere all the time, but a good community that we're growing there in the Discord. So let's immediately start taking a look here how we did in Best Buys. Here's last week's article, Best Buys for Week 10. They threw Matthew Berry from the fantasy show up on top of it. There's my name. And Matthew Stafford was our first pick. He did just fine, even though he was off to a slow start. 249 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 22.7 points. Not thrilling, but at least he did fine, which is something that was tough to find this weekend. So if you paid up at quarterback this week in cash games, which you could do with the value, but I chose not to, you probably had a better week than if you paid down, unless you made a specific right choice that we'll get to in a little bit. Josh McCown didn't do exceptionally well. 13.5 points. Didn't kill you. Didn't have like a 5-point game, but he needed 18 for value. We didn't quite get there. 262 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Ryan Fitzpatrick in the same game, 11.4 fantasy points, 187 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. My problem with these two quarterbacks on game day, and I didn't make the right decision here, was to pivot off of them because of the constant rain that was going to be there. No matter if it was going to be a torrential downpour or not, there was rain, there was wind, there was gusts up to 20 miles an hour, and I didn't divest myself of ownership of these quarterbacks when I could and should have to better weather players in games with rising totals, even though the total in this game did not go down. It was actually rising. On Sunday morning, there were better spots to get to. And if you played Fitzpatrick at 4,900 versus Beathard at 48, which they kind of had a very similar projection, Beathard in a better weather situation against a team that was kind of quitting, and we already wanted a player that was on San Francisco, at least one of them, in the passing game. Beathard made the better choice and would have been, retrospectively, if you picked Beathard versus Fitzpatrick, which I thought was a coin flip that morning, then you ended up on a much higher scoring game. Ben Roethlisberger ended the day, I don't have his score written down, had a couple of touchdown passes, didn't do horribly, 236 with 2 touchdown passes, and Jared Goff against bottom half of the league defenses is what you want to attack. Complete schoolyard bully, averaging well over 20 points against bottom half defenses right now. Houston is that against the pass, 29.5 points there. Another monster day for Jared Goff. Le'Veon Bell did not have a typical Le'Veon Bell day, but he did touch the ball over 30 times, which is what we're paying for. We're paying for the volume. He did not get into the end zone. He did have over 100 yards from scrimmage, 26 carries, 80 yards from scrimmage, no touchdowns, 5 catches on 6 targets with 32 yards and no touchdowns, 16.2 fantasy points. Jordan Howard, one of the busts of the day, and he was the coin flip situation with our next guy, Carlos Hyde here. 15 carries for 54 yards because of bad game flow for Jordan Howard. We knew that he was not going to be involved in the passing game. We thought that they were going to be ahead, the Bears, against the Green Bay Packers. But all of a sudden, it looks like Brett Hundley could pass yesterday, finally. Looked like a competent quarterback. That got them up 2 touchdowns early in the game, and the Bears ditched the running game, which is what we needed, about 20 to 25 touches out of Jordan Howard, with the majority of those going to be coming on the ground. We knew that we needed a touchdown out of him to be viable. And for me, the mistake here was going with Jordan Howard over Carlos Hyde, who I wrote up next, who ended the day with 12.4 points and a disappointing performance for him. I think that this one was more unlucky in this situation, because with Carlos Hyde, if I told you that the San Francisco 49ers were going to score the amount of points that they scored, we're going to have multiple touchdowns on the ground, multiple rushing touchdowns for the 49ers, and Carlos Hyde was not going to have one of them, you probably would have turned your head to the side like the RCA dog and said, huh? How is that at all possible? Because I didn't think it was possible either. He ended the day with 98 yards rushing, so he just missed the bonus there on 17 carries, two catches on 3 targets for 6 yards, 12.4 fantasy points. Did not reach value, but again, if you went him over Jordan Howard, that's a 7-point difference right there that you could have added to your total, and every single point mattered so much this weekend. Leonard Fournette busted against the Chargers. Played his typical amount of snaps, still had 19 carries. The game flow got out of control for him, and he's not going to be in there when they're chasing, and they were. Orleans Darkwa, good tournament play, and especially a very good leverage play off of Bilal Powell, who also busted. Darkwa ended the day with 12.8 points. Powell with 3 point something. So if you went Darkwa in tournaments, if you paid up the extra to get to Darkwa, very low ownership, you would have had leverage on the field, would have scored 8-9 more points, put yourself in a better situation to cash in tournaments or to get higher in tournaments if you're already in the money. Against all the Powell lineups that were out there. I think he was 50 to 60% owned in tournaments, 85% in cash games, depending on your buy-in level on your tournaments, was going to dictate his ownership levels. Antonio Brown, absolute bust for Antonio Brown. Dropped a deep ball that would have put him inside the 5, possibly scored a touchdown on that one, just did not have it, and they were not getting the ball to him enough. Only 7 targets, caught 3 of those targets for 47 yards against a putrid pass defense, 7.7 fantasy points. Now, this is another coin flip that we were talking about. 7.7 points for him or Lev Bell at 16.2. I know that some people were trying to jam both of them in. I thought that you needed to have one of them in your lineup. It was going to come down to which one you picked, and I didn't see very much of a difference between the two based on their projected floors, their raw projection, and their projected ceilings. And Antonio Brown, 9 points worse than Le'Veon Bell yesterday. So another coin flip situation that if you chose the right side, you would have had a great day. Julio Jones, another coin flip situation. Did not do well, but still had 11.7 points. Didn't absolutely kill you, but we wanted to get a 20-point game out of him, and we probably should have, considering that they had about 5 trips to the red zone. But I need to rethink Julio Jones, because even though he leads this team in red zone targets, anytime they get inside the 5, the Falcons go jumbo package with 3 tight ends, 2 running backs, and they just take their best player completely off the field and out of the game. 1 touchdown went to Austin Hooper. Another one went to, who's the kid from East Carolina? The wide receiver, the little dude. He caught a touchdown inside the red zone. Julio Jones had 3 red zone targets in this game, none of them in the end zone. 11.7 points, 8K is a very enticing price for Julio Jones. I bit. The problem is another coin flip situation here with AJ Green, who we detailed in the tournament section, 25.5 points. That leaves you 14 points behind if you win Julio over AJ Green. If you win AJ Green over Julio, congratulations to you. Robbie Anderson ends the day, just another touchdown, 4 straight games with a touchdown for Robbie Anderson, 4 catches, 7 targets, 85 yards, and a touchdown, pretty much his standard output for the last 4 weeks. 18.5 DraftKings points, one place that we definitely hit. AJ Green, talked about him, 25.5 points. Juju Smith-Schuster, 20.7 points, another touchdown for the rookie who got his driver's license, as has been said so many times this week, against the Indianapolis Colts. Sterling Shepard, absolute smash at 28.2. So we didn't do poorly on the wide receivers, but again, if you chose Sterling Shepard, you absolutely did great. If you went with Robbie Anderson, and we were talking about this on last week's first look video, if you want to dial back to that I thought a lot of value was in this 5K range. If you stayed there, congratulations to you. And if you went with AJ Green, those 3 would have gotten you basically 80 points, and you'd have been rolling, but I don't know that very many people did. Extreme tournament values, Adam Humphries versus Godwin. Godwin ended up with about 11 fantasy points. Humphries kind of did not do very, very well. We talked about this, and it didn't really come to fruition on the anti-Tinkercast, but it led us to the right decision, where I said, let's go with Godwin over Humphries here, because in the situation that they very well could go 2 tight end a lot with OJ Howard and Brate, and they didn't. Brate played like a season low in snaps for whatever reason. That got me on Godwin way more than Humphries, where I was on Humphries more than Godwin beforehand. So Sunday morning before the broadcast, I changed to more Godwin in my tournament lineups. I did not play him in cash, as you'll see in just a moment. But Godwin definitely beat value, put yourself in a position to do very well. This was another coin flip situation that I hope you made the right decision on. Charles Clay, we got off of him on Sunday morning. There were other guys, even though the other guy kind of busted. The play that I had everywhere was Garrett Selleck. Garrett Selleck ends the day with 16.7 points. The flow chart is still alive. If you don't know what the flow chart is, very, very simple. Are the Giants playing? Does the team playing them employ a tight end? Play him on DraftKings and expect a touchdown. He scores just another touchdown this week against the Giants. Every single week, the Giants have allowed a touchdown. I don't see that changing next week. The Detroit Lions defense, 14 fantasy points, 4 sacks, 1 interception, 2 fumbles, and a touchdown for 14 points. The Bears defense allowed Brett Hundley to look really good. Shocking in the rain on the road for a guy making his first batch of starts for a team who had looked horrible before. The Bears still got 3 sacks. Those were their only points, as they gave up too many points, did not turn the ball over, could not control the game at all, and it got away from them. And the Los Angeles Rams, every single week, we're going to be streaming against Houston any chance that we get. That did not change here. 3 sacks, 2 picks, 2 fumbles, 15 fantasy points for the Rams. So there was a path to success, but that path to success basically depended on your ability to avoid landmines. Now, as we say every week, it comes down to decision making. So can you make those decisions and can you not? I made wrong decisions this week. Here's my cash game lineup. Here's what we had. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jordan Howard, Bilal Powell, who everybody had. 85.6% owned. This is the $250 single entry double up. Okay? So it's not affected by people like entering 5-10 times, right? This is everybody had one entry. These are some of the sharpest players in the game. These are some of the best players in the game for a long period of time, playing at high dollar levels. And we've said as you go up in dollar levels, the sharper plays kind of come out. Fitzpatrick here, wrong side of the coin flip versus Beathard. Howard here, wrong side of the coin flip versus Carlos Hyde, and he was 51% on. Half the field was on him. Bilal Powell, I don't think there was any way to avoid this week. Played half the snaps in the game, didn't get very many targets. We've seen in the past. I would make this decision again if we reran yesterday's slate, not knowing what we know about what happened in the slate. If you told me, are you going to fade Bilal Powell in cash? There's absolutely no way. He was a plug and play for me. So this one, I'll take that, fine. I'll take the L there, whatever, because you knew that he was going to be as highly owned as he was. So it didn't affect you if he busted. And if he had a great day, then you wanted to get off. Now in tournaments, it made merit. There was merit to fading him. We'll get to that in just a minute because I'm going to look at my 3 lineups that I played in 3 max games. Julio Jones should have played AJ Green here, I suppose. Did not get there. Would have made a 14-point difference. Marvin Jones over Tate. Didn't do that because I didn't have the money, so I couldn't get up to Golden Tate here. 3 points versus 20-something. Sterling Shepard, I got this one right. Garrett Selleck got this one right. Le'Veon Bell had to spend somewhere. Bears defense, 64% owned. But look at the ownerships, right? And let's look at the cash line. The cash line here was 100, right? So 100 people made the cash. We usually say if you can get to 150 points, you should be profitable. If you got to 115 this week, you made a lot of money. If you had 115 points in your cash games, you made a lot of money. And 115 points means making one different decision here gets you to 115 points. If you made one different decision here, right? Marvin Jones to Golden Tate. Massive change in your expectation there. Beathard here over Fitzpatrick gets you to that point. So if you made these flip decisions, or 7 more points here from Howard going up to Carlos Hyde. So this week was all about decision making. Once again, my decision making this week in head-to-heads. My decision making in football this season has not been spectacular in cash games, and that's on me. Even though the plays seemed like they were fine, going back to Best Buys where, yes, the X Factor Bilal Powell failed, but everybody was on him. Didn't matter. Even you could say Jordan Howard, fine. Half the field was on him, so you just had to beat them at other spots. The ownership guys failed. Some of the ownership guys did not. The top of this, highest scoring lineup, this guy, I've never heard of this guy before, ended up with 179.6 points. Had Jared Goff in cash, had Orleans Darkwa instead of him, had Kamara at 1.4%, Hopkins at 1.4%. This is a tournament lineup, and I'm not saying that people that ended up near the top didn't play right. I thought Mariota was a really good play. He was my second highest owned tournament quarterback. Notorious, very good player, long-time good player, very respected player. Had AJ Green over Julio Jones. Made the right decision there. Good decision here with Deshaun Jackson for a value price, right? He was $4,900. Jordan Howard, like I said, if you pick Jordan Howard, that's not what cost you. Bilal Powell in his lineup, that's not what cost you. Had Shepard, had him, did well at the wide receiver spots, and got 18 points instead of 10 there, and ended up with a massive cash game day. Rams defense with 15 points. So you really only need a 115. You didn't have to do much to get there, and essentially it came down to decision making, just like we preach it does every single week. Here were my 3 lineups. Okay, I play 150 lineups in the Millie Maker, but I really focus on the 3 lineups that I play in my head-to-head game. So this was my cash game lineup that you've already seen right here. This was my leagues lineup, right? I went with Stafford and double stack, Tate and Jones. I had Mark Ingram in there, who did great. Had Powell in all 3 lineups. Probably should have tried to get somewhere else, but I had no remaining salary here. Probably should have gone up here, but I didn't want to put Darkwa with Eli, because I had Eli and I had 2 pass catchers here, double stack with him. I didn't want to have a Giants onslaught, so I stayed with Powell. There was decision making there for me. Ingram was massive, right? And we talked about his role not changing, right? It was just wrong side of variance in week 9 against them, where Kamara played the same amount of snaps, had the same amount of carries, and Ingram was in a great bounce back spot for low ownership. This is what killed me here. Devonta Freeman, this lineup was top 5 in everything. All the high dollar stuff. All the 3 max games, the high dollar, the $1,500 tournament, whatever it's called, the luxury box or the whatever, and the $1,000 queue. I was right there ready to pounce. I had the most PMR. I was ready to win, and Devonta Freeman goes out. He probably would have had a touchdown considering they got the ball to Coleman in a situation where he was out. He probably would have had a good day on the ground, would have chipped in, would have gotten all the second half carries. As it was, he was concussed and out, which really cut down my earnings. So a losing week for me, probably won like 30% of my cash games. I made up for it with a big win on FanDuel that covered it. But essentially, I lost on DraftKings. I won on FanDuel. And they kind of covered each other, which got me, like, I lost like 9K on DraftKings and I won 9K on FanDuel. So it evened out and I had a break-even week, which very blessed to have had a break-even week on a week like this, where I made all the wrong coin flip decisions on DraftKings and got one of my tournament lineups into the top 5 in the bomb on FD, which kind of evened out the day. So right with the survive and advance, right, philosophy that we like to go with in football. Keep yourself alive, keep your bankroll alive, protect your bankroll by playing as many head-to-heads as you can. If you have casual games that you can play those as much as you can, and get yourself in a position to survive and advance and hopefully bank a tournament the next week. So that's going to do it. Be sure to tune into our other videos as the week goes on. We're going to do a first look video for week 11. We've got the Friday question and answer right here on Twitch. We're going to do some NBA shows as well. So be sure to check my Twitter account. The pinned tweet will have my stream schedule for the week. Thank you guys for joining. If you're still watching on YouTube, appreciate you guys. Click that like button and smash that subscribe before you get out of here, and we'll catch up to you later. Bye, everybody.